Have you ever wondered what secrets were hidden in Solomon's temple? The Bible describes it as the most magnificent house ever built for God's name. From towering pillars to the Ark of the Covenant, every detail had purpose and meaning. Today, we'll explore how this temple was constructed and why it mattered so much to Israel and to us. If you enjoy uncovering hidden truths in Scripture, subscribe now and comment where you're watching from. Let's dive into this sacred mystery together. Here the people of Israel would bring their sacrifices and offerings to the Lord Yachin, meaning he establishes, and Boaz, in him as strength, were more than mere architectural elements. This sacred chamber was overlaid with pure gold, reflecting the light and creating an atmosphere of awe and reverence. Here stood the golden altar, where incense was burned as a symbol of the prayers rising to heaven. The lampstands provided light, representing God's guidance and the illumination of His word. They served as powerful reminders to all who entered. God's faithfulness established His people, and His strength upheld them. Their wings stretched out, creating a canopy over the ark. These angelic figures served as guardians of God's throne, reminding all of the power and majesty of the one who dwelt there. He asked God to hear the prayers of His people, to forgive their sins, and to dwell among them. The king's words echoed through the temple courts, a testament to his desire for Israel to remain faithful to their covenant with God. Every detail in the holy place pointed to God's presence among His people and their need for communion with Him. In a dramatic display of divine approval, fire came down from heaven and consumed the offerings. It was a clear sign that God had accepted the temple and was pleased with the devotion of His people. This inner sanctum was the heart of the temple, separated from the rest by a thick veil. It stood as a symbol of God's holiness and His desire to dwell among His people. We see His desire for relationship with His people and His provision for reconciliation. The temple story challenges us to consider how we're rebuilding our lives on God as truth and seeking His presence daily. The temple was a constant reminder of the covenant between God and Israel, a place where heaven and earth met. God desires hearts that are devoted to Him more than any physical building, no matter how grand. The true temple of God now resides within the hearts of believers, where His Spirit dwells. Only the high priest could enter, and only once a year on the Day of Atonement. The elaborate rituals, the restricted access to God's presence, the need for continual sacrifices, all these highlighted humanity's separation from God due to sin. They also foreshadowed the coming of Christ, who would bridge that gap once and for all. This limitation emphasized the holiness of God and the seriousness of sin. If you enjoyed this Bible study, please subscribe to our channel and comment below where you're watching from. May God bless you as you seek His presence and build your life on the foundation of His unchanging word. Remember, just as God dwelt in the temple of old, He longs to make His home in your heart today. When the high priest entered, he brought blood to offer for atonement, foreshadowing the ultimate sacrifice that would one day be made by Christ. Within this space resided the Ark of the Covenant, containing the tablets of the law given to Moses. The Ark represented God's throne on earth, the meeting place between the divine and the human. It was a space that invited reflection, worship, and dedication. Every time the Israelites passed these pillars, they were reminded of their dependence on the Almighty. It was a place of gathering, of community, and of approaching the presence of God. But even before entering the main structure, visitors were greeted by two imposing bronze pillars. King David, a man after God's own heart, longed to build a house for the Lord. He gathered all of Israel for this momentous occasion. As the priests carried the Ark of the Covenant into its new home, something extraordinary happened. A cloud filled the temple, the visible manifestation of God's glory. The presence of the Lord was so overwhelming that the priests couldn't even stand to minister. But God had other plans. He told David that his son, Solomon, would be the one to construct this holy dwelling place. He was chosen to fulfill this divine purpose, to create a dwelling place for the God of Israel. Solomon's first step was to make a treaty with Hiram, king of Tyre. This alliance provided the finest cedar wood and skilled craftsmen for the project. Though David couldn't build the temple himself, he spent years gathering materials and making preparations for this monumental task. Gold, silver, and precious stones were gathered in abundance. Tens of thousands of laborers were employed to quarry stone, shape wood, and craft intricate details. The foundation alone was a marvel, with massive stones forming a sturdy base on Mount Moriah, the very place where God had appeared to David years before. When Solomon ascended to the throne, he knew the weight of responsibility that rested on his shoulders. As preparations began, the scale of the undertaking became clear. The outer courts of the temple were designed to welcome worshippers. These pillars, named Yakin and Boaz, stood as silent sentinels at the entrance to the temple. Stepping inside the temple, one would be overwhelmed by the sight of the holy place. Tables held the sacred bread, a constant offering to the Lord and a reminder of his provision. But beyond the holy place lay an even more sacred area, the most holy place, or the Holy of Holies. Access to the most holy place was severely restricted. Guarding the ark were two massive cherubim, crafted from olive wood and overlaid with gold. When Solomon finally completed the temple, it was time for dedication. In this awe-inspiring moment, Solomon knelt before the altar and offered a heartfelt prayer of dedication. To seal the dedication, Solomon offered thousands of sacrifices. The significance of Solomon's temple extended far beyond its physical beauty. Yet, as magnificent as the temple was, it pointed to something even greater. Though Solomon's temple was eventually destroyed, its lessons remain relevant for us today. As we reflect on the secrets of Solomon's temple, we're reminded of God's faithfulness throughout history. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Solomon's temple.